you know with a good few weeks notice, a good few weeks before the final evidence deadline, that you're going to have late evidence in that's important, like from a professional, educational psychologist, occupational therapist, speech and language therapist, etc., then what you need to do is use the Send 7 form process to request an extended final evidence deadline. So you email the local authority and say, I've got some late evidence coming in. I want to request an extension to the final evidence deadline. Can you give me the local authority's views? Then you get their views, you fill in a Send 7, you explain to the judge that you've got an EP report, but it's not going to be ready till X date. So you're requesting an extension to the final evidence deadline for the hearing date to remain unchanged, but for the final evidence deadline to be pushed back, and you give them a date. I'd go for like a month after the EP has said he'll get back to you, just to buy yourself a bit of extra time in case they're late. You send that with the local authority's views. It will take probably until after both the final evidence deadline and the extended final evidence deadline to hear back from tribunal, but they will agree to it. So you just work to the proviso that it's been agreed, even though you haven't heard from them, but you will hear eventually. Okay? The other option, because sometimes the reason I say you need to be ready to do this at least 2 weeks before the final evidence deadline is because to do a Send 7, you've got to give the local authority 5 working days to respond to it. So if you find out really close to the final evidence deadline, 2 days before, that something you were, for example, that something you were expecting to come in hasn't, and it's going to come in after the deadline, or if you get a new piece of evidence after the deadline, then you need to submit that as late evidence, which is a slightly different system. You email the local authority and you say, I've got this late evidence, and you attach it. Can you give me the local authority's view on submitting it, please? They give you the view. You do a Send 7 saying, I'm submitting this as late evidence, and you send it as late evidence. There's a YouTube clip in our YouTube channel that explains that. So I would always advise, if you've got plenty of notice that you've got evidence coming in late, ask to move your evidence deadline. If you find out really close to the evidence deadline that you haven't got everything in, or after the evidence deadline that you've got something new, you do it through a late evidence request. They're both Send 7 requests, and for any Send 7, you have to ask for the local authority's view. Now, don't worry if the local authority say, we disagree. They won't. They will agree, actually. People are surprised, but they actually agree. But if they disagree, then you just put their view on the form and you put your argument to the judge. The judge is not going to refuse an EP assessment. I mean, it's critical. The hearing can't be accurate without a thorough and up-to-date EP assessment. Yeah.
And it is really weird because you do a Send 7 and you ask the local authority, and I think that, like Anna's saying, that's the point that people then go, God, what did they say no? What do I do? But even if they do say no, like Anna's saying, you ask the judge to overrule it. But it's almost like just a courtesy thing, you have to ask them, and but they have to do the same thing in return as well if they want to submit something. But it is a bit of a swings and roundabouts thing, and it stops pointless information being added. But if it's something like a professional report, that's going to be pivotal to your hearing.
The judge will accept it. And just to let you know, your EP report isn't going to be out of date. They're valid for 3 years, but officially. But I agree that an addendum would be useful. From 2024 report to a 2026 appeal, I would get an addendum. Can't even say the word now. But yeah,